Hello, Sue Stiles here. And today and during this podcast, this season of the podcast, I want to talk to high achieving agents, people who have built a good reputation for themselves. And so today I'm happy to introduce you to Taylor Hack. He's the founder of Hack & Co., Remax River City up in Edmonton. I stumbled on Taylor just through social media, honestly, just was looking around. You were doing, I don't know if it was a podcast or sharing information, but he's very active on social media. And after a decade has 5 team members, 5 people on his team, and a plus one, your dog Hugo, a little French bulldog, which I love. But if you read Taylor's bio on your website, it says that within your first 3 years that you ranked in the top 2% with Remax worldwide. So let's talk. Welcome, Taylor. Tell me a little bit, and the audience of new agents, what does that mean?
It's actually kind of weird to find out. So I was just doing real estate, right? It was going really well. But there's milestones that you don't really look at. You look at it like, where's my next client? How am I going to run this business? What's going on here? And meanwhile, you're actually accumulating time, and if you're doing well, accumulating transactions. So for me, it was like in my third year, I got what Remax calls a Hall of Fame award. And that means that you've exceeded $1 million in commission. And that was
Wow.
32 months in to starting my business. So if you're wondering like what that kind of measures out to, it looks a little bit like that.
So maybe we can start where you are right now. After a decade, you've built a team. I know you have lots of interests and lots of experience. Where is Taylor Hack right now after a decade in the business?
For the last couple of years, I haven't served any clients directly. I'm doing that this year. So for me, I have experienced a lot of different things in entrepreneurship, and I believe that a lot of us in real estate kind of start as solopreneurs. We can make structures that are big enough to serve ourselves, but some of us will want to be entrepreneurs and some of us won't. And that will be like making more than you can consume yourself and needing and creating structures that can support other people. As I was I really enjoyed that part of my business, and I knew that that's where I needed a lot of development. And I had done so much on the customer service side. Like in my career as a primary active agent, when I was trying to achieve my highest highs, there were times that I would carry more than 30 listings myself. And serving all of
Oh,
those clients is an incredibly demanding job.
wow.
There's also times where I was doing that and also bringing in teammates. In my third year of real estate, I sold 60 houses in 6 months by myself.
Wow.
And it's just high mileage. So I did take 2 years out of production to work on my business, and man, did it ever make me proud of my teammates. We have some people here that were, honest to goodness, just better fit to serve our clients than I was. I had run up the hill, and I didn't want to be that trail pony that bites. So there's things that I really think that people coming into real estate should understand about the choices they make.
Yeah, let's talk about those. What helped you get to this place right now?
Oh, I have to say that I'm probably one of the best examples of someone who is just continually relentless. Like meaning that I'm not like I'm just gonna plod on in this direction in an unstoppable manner. I pick up a lot of hints and tricks. That's something that's been a big part of my business. I've had many coaches. I definitely pay people for development, and I seek development by doing other things. I think that more top producers should look at our industry differently and understand that you don't actually learn any lesson entirely until you teach someone else. So the whole deal is going to find those people that are like 2 steps ahead of you, gaining that information, and then finding somebody that's like 2 steps behind you to deliver it to. And that's what turned into a public speaking career for me. My last time on stage was at the Cosmopolitan Hotel in Las Vegas. which was incredible.
Awesome. Sharing, of course, where you're at right now. And if people can catch a little bit of that mindset, I think you're bang on. And of course, everyone starts out as the solopreneur. So let's go back to when you started. Um, how did you feel day one when you got your real estate license, and maybe back up to what you were doing just before that?
Yeah, so I didn't realize, but a lot of my career has kind of moved in the direction of real estate. So for me, I didn't have a conventional adolescence. I ended up leaving school without a diploma. And after dropping out of high school, I went right into the workforce and I was delivering appliances. And for me, that was such a valuable lesson that you don't get taking your real estate license. It taught me about how families make purchases together, about the dynamic of two decision makers in many cases. I did well there. I ended up challenging and getting my GED, moving into car sales, and suddenly I was having all these interactions with people that were making the largest purchase decisions they normally make without staff or representation. So, negotiating against the average family over and over again was something that is just an amazing skill that has been something that has served me so well in real estate, but it did not come from the real estate course. And then I went into mortgages. I did like $150 million in mortgages. So when
Awesome.
you're talking to people about what they don't talk about, even with their kids, about their money, and you see how they make decisions and also what people do and what people get, like just incredible insight. But again, that's experience that you don't get inside of any type of licensing. And so here I was with all this experience, just having written my license, and I was in my brokerage in an evening. It was actually I think my end of my first month in real estate, and I had just shown just a sweet person some apartments, and she wanted to buy one, and I had a purchase agreement with all the blank spots. And when you're looking at it to do it the first time, even though I had seen hundreds and hundreds of purchase agreements, I was stuck. There was actually a lady named Jody Allen that was in the office that night, and she was an experienced realtor, and she stepped in and saved me. It was great.
Ah, shout out to the Jodies in people's lives when someone's starting new. That's really interesting. There's a difference between in your work dealing with mortgages where you're seeing those purchase contracts, they're part of your file, but you're looking at them through a different lens to when you've got your first client and now you're responsible to fill in all of those blanks. Like it's yes, you have your license, but now you've got to learn how to drive that vehicle.
Yeah. And it's very different. Like imagine the difference between driving a vehicle and assembling one. You know, when
Right.
I was
Yes.
receiving the contracts, the purchase agreements as a mortgage person, I was just checking stuff, right? I never looked at any of the parts that weren't filled out. I never looked at the things like I wasn't looking at it from the same scope that you do. When you're writing it and it's all blank, you have to make things happen, right? We're almost like pre-law in real estate where we're setting up something that's enforceable later.
Mhm. So you mentioned this is your first client. I bet a lot of new agents or students are wondering, where did you find that first client and how did you get your first few deals? Like, how did you find your traction?
Oh, you got good questions. And this is something that is really important because this seems to be like mystifying to people. Like, what if they find out it's my first one? Guess what? Some of the people would choose that. So I have my own experience, but I also have had some of the highest flying birds on our team. Like some of my past teammates have been on HGTV, or one of my past teammates has been on HGTV. One of my current teammates, he did over $20 million in production last year. So when you talk about some of these teammates that start off with me, it was in my sphere. It was a friend of my wife. She knew I was new and chose that anyway, right? At the same time, I ended up listing a property and selling it, and the pendings were overlapped. So there's another friend of mine that claims first client. But there's this like intertwining these two, but they were my first buy or my first listing. So here's what I've learned after helping people in. Imagine all the people that might attend your wedding or your funeral, right? Let's talk about it like it's your wedding. And in the first row, there's the people that you know the most. There's your family, right? You have a high frequency of contact with most of those people. So when you come into real estate, that group knows, right? Then if we look like 3 rows deep, most of those people you're only going to see every 6 months, maybe a year. And in that case, those people will not know until after that next frequency that you are in real estate. Then, if you go near the back of the room, there's people that love you, they care about you, they would absolutely choose you, but your frequency of contact with them is very low, like maybe it's just social media contact. So now we have to look at this room and say, who would hurt my feelings if they bought or sold with someone else? And how do I save them from that?
Mhm.
This group will choose you if you go to them and tell them. When you start in entrepreneurship, other entrepreneurs like me, we look at that like you're having like a baby shower. We're rare, right? And so many people try and don't make it here that we really like there is this culture of survivors. And I think that that's something that a lot of people look past. So save those people around you and save yourself from hearing the oh, you're you're in real estate. We just bought a house, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's painful.
Yes. And if anyone's listening now and you don't have your license yet, you've got to understand the importance of building relationships, building connections, just phoning people and having coffees, not asking for business, but just asking, how are you doing? How are things going? If you can come into real estate and you already have a sphere, a network of a lot of people you stay in touch with. Some people are naturally good at that, but if you're not, you want to become better at keeping those people closer to you. Would you agree?
Yeah, actually, like it does add that as a value as well. So most of your business in real estate is going to come from three things. It's going to come from relationships, skills, and activities. Now, as a new agent, you could have a lot of relationships if you maintain a sphere, and that's going to help you. And then your conversion is going to be your level of skill, and your activities are so important. Like new agents, the more activities that you can do, the more people that you can talk to in real estate, it will majorly change your outcome. Like most people that come through as they're getting their real estate license, we have a spot on our team for that. So we actually have a teammate right now that is in the Relo course. Okay.
Ooh,
And she
awesome.
says it's fantastic. And so Jane's coming through and she's getting ready. But before Jane ever serves a client with us, she'll have talked to hundreds of people about real estate. She'll have attended many different experiences with other teammates. She'll have been on a home inspection. She'll have written several contracts. She'll have done mock negotiations with her teammates. Like this is something like, well, for us, we play this at such a high level. I do believe that we practice harder than other people play, and it shows.
Yeah. I think that's great structure that you have, obviously that you've learned and put into place. I've always wished, I used to sit in the admin spot in an office 20 years ago,
No way.
and I always said, if you get your license, the best place you should be is do someone's admin. Like sit in there and be their admin assistant for a year, and you will learn the things that you need to know that you might forsake if it's just you on the phone and trying to do deals. There's just so much. I mean, you're learning all the time, as you said at the beginning.
That's such great insight. So, like, you were working at a brokerage as an assistant, so you were in the environment. You got to see the
That's right.
difference between top producers and not producers. Now, that
Yes.
used to be one of the ways in, but they were so rare.
Yeah.
Now, in real estate, teams have changed that dynamic. They are intentionally developing tomorrow's business athletes, right? And the difference is it's really they say that it's 5 years experience versus one when you're on a team because of how immersed you are with other people that
Yeah.
actually share the details of their business.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. So, but if you look back in hindsight from your own school of hard knocks, is there something that you could say, gee, I wish I knew that when
Mm.
I started?
Like all of it. right? Um, so if anybody were to watch me over a long period of time, they'd be like, wow, that guy makes every single mistake. And that's because I'm not trying to resist making mistakes. I'm trying to make them
Mm,
all, just none of them twice.
yeah.
So as I go along, I constantly change things. Like there was periods of time where I really looked at business overall differently. Like I would say that the number one thing is seeing competition instead of seeing collaboration.
Oh.
For me, I came in and I was angry. Man, was I ever angry with the other realtors that I was doing business with. I
Mm,
was trying to be so good. I was trying to be so deep. And sometimes what I felt where they could have been more organized ended up affecting my client experience. And I measure that 5 stars at a time. And like to look at those star stealers out there, it was killing me. And instead of looking at people out there as an opportunity to help, I took that the other way and I got angry. And it made me a very different realtor to who I am now.
mm.
I think that when you get an offer on a listing, if you have a threat response or seek combat, that's a sign that you might need to be readjusted. Like great negotiators aren't like sharks. They're not. Well, we're learning more about sharks. Maybe they are. Sharks are, apparently not as bad as we once thought. But the truth of the matter is that it's not a fight. All right. Like you can
Yeah.
still measure wins and things like that. But the truth is that both of us are trying to reveal where the deal is here, where the buyer and seller will
Mm,
have that zone of potential agreement.
yeah.
And if we're doing it as combatants, like we should still be about our client's interest. Like we play poker, like for sure. We are here to compel and to execute what our clients want, but we don't have to be mean about it. We don't have to be we're not out to get them.
That's so insightful. And how you said you're both here to reveal how that deal can come together. And I have to admit, just a few months ago, I heard a very successful agent tell me that she's realized for the first time in her 25 odd year career that you can be successful and nice. And so I wonder if that's a little bit of a stigma or something. Like you have to be this shark, you have to be demanding, you have to be A type, to win the deals. And in reality, after years of success, you're realizing and sharing. Thank you for sharing. Hey, it's more collaboration. I know many realtors taught the top, number ones at different brokerages who over the course of time in the same city have learned how to lean on one another. Hey, I'm pricing this house. It's a new build. I noticed you had one down the street. Would you talk to me about this? And therefore, they're collaborating and, making the whole industry more professional. You find that too?
Well, those people often do get great deals, but that's because they're better revealers, right?
Mhm.
And there was a time in my career where I would have done 6 deals that day already. And I'd be calling somebody to negotiate, and they might as well have cued the Darth Vader music, right? I just like was not, and the way that it affected me is obviously nobody wants to talk to you when you're in a mindset like that. So every call was like abrasive, but I didn't
Mm.
realize that I was the one broadcasting that. So thankfully, I got far enough in my entrepreneurship where I could step out of production and start to analyze that buyer and seller experience through my teammates so that it would show me where I would have stacked up against them. And like I got to tell you that as much as like a lot of people are saying like who's this team leader, they're looking past teammates that my teammates they're just better than I am.
Wow, what a great shout out to the team. And I mean, you build your reputation. You build it alone. It's not like you're the house salesman for the company, like in car sales. People learn your reputation, and I think realtors, you'll build your reputation on what goes on behind closed doors because people will find out, who you are and how you act. So great way to shift because you build a reputation for the positive. And probably as a great collaborator in the industry, maybe you have a large network. Well, a seller wants to know that you get along with the other people in your industry and that people are going to want to come and show your house, etc. Right?
Yep. You want to attract offers. And
Mm,
offers are influenced by other agents. And the rotation of agents through this industry is not at the top, it's at the bottom. So those people near the top, you're going to see them over and over and over again. So just be careful when you're approaching them. Like there's people that can play against each other and then step off the court and be fine. And I don't want anybody to sell out their clients ever, right? Even if it's
mm.
to my client's advantage, I'm not happy about it. I want us all to be professional and skilled, and to what we're here to do is to win for families.
Yeah.
Those families are trying to deliver 18 summers to their kids, and we are on their team. And when we do good, they get better experiences because of that. And when we phone it in and when we don't do our business properly, it takes away and it takes away points of percentage of sale price.
Yeah, true. Now, you've mentioned something, before we get to sort of your final advice for new agents, I'm wondering about your balance, and maybe some listeners might be wondering too. If you're working at such a high capacity, where do you take time, for Taylor's life? Where do you take time for Hugo to go throw the ball? What does that look like for you?
I think it looks overall like being switched on more of the time. And what I mean by that is I don't know why so many people pursue relaxation. It just like blows my mind. Like I'm just trying to work for a break, right? And the agreement that most people make to work for the weekend is the trade they make for things that they are seem to be excited about. Like they like, oh man, I would like to improve my wealth, and it's like, well, you're trading the week for the weekend, and that trade isn't making you very far ahead of most.
Mhm.
So that's my outlook on it. But I also believe that I should be there and be present for my family. So I structure my day a little bit differently. I put more emphasis on my family time at breakfast time. We have
Oh.
hot breakfasts like other people have hot dinners. And that's so it's less pressure on me to be at every dinner, but I probably do like, I would say I do at least 5 a week right now. Um,
Hmm.
but I cook almost all the breakfast. And that really changes my relationship with my wife as well to cook 30% of the meals. And so that's a little bit of it. I also schedule appointments for my personal life as though they are appointments. So some people are like, I'm going to do appointments and I'm going to live in the spaces in between. And it's like, no, you're not.
Hmm.
So if I'm going to my daughter's violin lesson, it's an appointment. And if anybody ever called me, I don't need to tell them what it is. It's an appointment.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of it, but then also decide what's important to you. So my real estate team is not my only company. I'm involved
Okay.
in other things. I am a serial entrepreneur and I like business a lot. So it can take a lot of my focus and it doesn't weigh on me. And it's not something I think that is like an affinity to you. Like I don't think you're born like this. I think that you can learn to like your work and to kind of go to the points of work where you get the best exchange. Like for me in leadership, one of the reasons I do it is because I don't want to see anybody else do it poorly. I take the responsibility seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And that ends up making it my position on my team. And it's just like if I was the goaltender or the left winger, it's not the top or the bottom. It's like, this is your position and here is your responsibilities.
And
So that's
way
how I look
to
at it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I hope the listeners that you're hearing that. Traditionally, we think if you're good with your family, you're sitting down for dinner. When you run your own business, you decide what's traditionally going to be good for your family and what feels right for you, and that you can have that freedom with your time blocking. I love that.
Time blocking is a
Um,
big thing.
yeah. So everyone's listening. They're new with their license. Maybe they haven't got their license yet. Maybe there's some who have their license, but they're always learning. And they want to hear, what advice would Taylor give me, you know, to reach my goals, to succeed, and to not have to leave the industry like 87% have to within 5 years, as NAR tells us in their statistics. So, what advice would you hand out to those listening today?
Really, it's going to be a whole bunch of decisions. So it's about looking at your decision process. So I like something called OODA loops. It's OODA. Observe, orient, decide, and then act. Okay, the better that you do these loops, the better you're going to do. So for people coming into real estate, you know how many people I meet that just got their license and they don't know that they're about to run into membership fees and brokerage joining fees and like these other things. They're just not financially prepared. That's
Yeah.
failure to observe.
Mm.
Okay, they just didn't see it. So that could end up meaning the fail of their entire experience as an entrepreneur. And it does end a fair percentage. Now, once you're able to say, okay, how do I see? It's like, well, contact people. Say, like, what do I need to know? This podcast is a good example. Use resources and say, like, okay, my financial situation is going to be pretty important. And then after that, to orient to that and say, like, okay, this is harder than I thought. I need more information. And then you can say, okay, where can I stand so I can see the path between me and where I want to be? How do I do that? And then if I walk to the other end of that path, let's say for me at the end of my first year, I wanted to have done 24 deals. So when I go to the end and I look back, I'm like, what had to happen for 24 deals? Well, I had to meet 24 clients. Well, I actually had to probably meet 40 clients so that I could close 24. Okay, if I had to have 40 first time meetings, now I'm starting to see a pace here. I'm almost at one a week. But a lot of the people that I meet won't actually take appointments with me. So now it turns out that I need to meet like 3 or 4 people that want to talk about real estate in the next 90 days. Like it's going to be real for them in the next 90 days in order for my business to roll. And then the question can come, how many contacts do I need to make, like meaningful connections on social media or dial outs, however you think you can actually be effective? How many of those am I going to need to do at a weekly pace in order to stand here and say I have 24? I did that initially, and it's okay to aim like that because I cleared that milestone in June. Okay, that my opening year, I had done 24 deals by the end of June.
Wow.
And so just know that this can be the things that you look at, but
Mhm.
one warning. A goal is an agreement with yourself to be unhappy until you get there. Take that seriously. Don't mess around with your goals. You can make contracts that will affect your emotions not knowingly. So you can aim high and miss a little bit lower, but just be very careful with where you place that.
Great outline. And if anyone's listening and they don't have the book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller, what you were just saying reminded me a little bit about that book. Now, if you're just starting, you might only have to read the first half of that book, but it's a great industry book. And there's lots. Do you read much? Do you have any books to recommend or any final stories you'd like to share, Taylor?
Yeah, I read a lot. There's times that I will carry a pace of like 4 books a month. The things that I tend to grab onto now, like in the beginning, I wanted to read everything, and now I find that there's a lot of repetitive ideas and that there's essences of certain books that I want to grab. It it actually like changed the way I pursue things. And often now, when I'm buying books, I'm looking for things that I can action, like Alex Hormozzi's book, $500 Million Offers. Though that is a book that you can actually action and say, okay, what service am I offering and how does the public see it? Or another book on marketing would be Story Brand. And
Yeah.
taking a look at that and saying, like, oh man, I'm not the hero of this story. And if I stand in that place, then I don't get to be in my client's book. How did I not know that? So
Hmm.
those are a couple on marketing. But if I was to say 3 to start, I've spent time with Chris Smith, who is the author of Exactly What to Say in Real Estate. Um,
Awesome.
it was doing public speaking. Like I've spent time with Chris Voss, author of Never Split the Difference, great book on negotiations. So those 2 books and Influence by Robert Cialdini, those 3 are really good. But I like your recommendation as well. In my first year of real estate, I did read Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller, and I have to say that like it definitely gave me something to use as a roadmap.
Yeah, solid. we never know what's going to hit us. We're all different, coming from different places. So there's some great resources. Thank you for being so open and sharing. And any final words before we wrap up and send these people out into the real world?
Yeah, get in here. Honest to goodness, like when we take a look at the next generation, we need some talent here. We definitely need some. There's a lot of people out there that they think they might be interested in this, but there's not as many ways in as there used to be. Salespeople were more common when I was young. Getting those as like initial jobs where you could get like a commission sales job at like 16 years old. I've been on 100% commission since I was 18 years old.
Wow.
And those jobs aren't as readily available, but if you think that this might be for you and you're grindy, get in here.
Some thanks very much, Taylor, founder of Hack and Co. up in Edmonton. And until next time, I'm Sue Stiles, and thank you for listening to us today. Bye for now.